Hello everyone, welcome into today's episode of Three Flights, and today I thought that we were going to give a go to War Thunder Sim, which I have been enjoying a lot recently. I never really explored it, and it's definitely not necessarily shining in terms of its simulation, but the variety of aircraft is fantastic. And of course I'm going to undo all of that by spawning immediately in a BF-109K4, of which I feel like I know almost everything about, and includes and exists in DCS. So we won't stand on our own business too heavily here in terms of the aircraft variety. But depending on how things go, we might get to try out a TA-152 or something like that, which is always interesting, even though I don't know anything about the TA-152. And up we get. Alright, gear up. Didn't use any flap, which is fine. Yeah, have any of you guys had a go with War Thunder Simulator Battles? It gives you a really interesting opportunity to... Oh, we've got aileron and elevator trim. I don't actually know if that's true, because I'm pretty sure the aileron trim on this airframe is actually that small indentation or extrusion on the flap, which is a specific piece of metal that's meant to be bent on the ground to kind of stabilize the aileron trim of the aircraft. Make sure that our volumes and everything are sounding okay. It's a little bit quiet. Let's bump up the volume a little bit here so we get some engine noise. That sounds a bit better. Okay, well, we're going to cruise along like this. One thing that is interesting in War Thunder is the engine noises sound like they're idling almost all of the time, which is a shame because there would be great opportunity for some element of... You know, if you're in an engine that's got MW50 in it, then you might want to hear it rip a little bit. And I'm having a look at this cockpit here now, and I don't actually know if we have an MW50 gauge in this instrument cluster, so we'll have a look and see how things go. I don't actually know if it simulates the MW50 tank. In DCS, the MW50 tank is a separate fuel tank in the aircraft, which is how DCS servers limit accessibility of MW50, because it is pretty powerful, especially when compared against some of the other airframes that you get in the World War II scenario. So oftentimes they will drain the MW50 tank, which is water methanol, I believe? Methanol water, MW50? I know that the Allies became aware of MW50 and its implementation when I believe a Junkers 88 crashed in the United Kingdom, and it had some kind of MW50 system installed, which is crazy to me because I didn't know that the Junkers 88 ever had access to MW50, but it makes sense. It is the Schnell bomber. It's important to remember that, in fact, I don't know if there were Junkers 88s in the Spanish Civil War, but there were certainly Dornier 17s, which I've always kind of considered the prototypical version of the Junkers 88, or at least the logic of the fast bomber. And they did see it through. You forget, because largely of how quickly everyone caught up, that at the very start of the war, it was viable for twin-engine bombers to be too fast to catch, hence Schnell bomber, because it was fast. But that quickly changed. If you ever do play a little bit of IL-2 Cliffs of Dover, though, and you see a Junkers 88 in the distance and it sees you, it can be really, really tricky to catch up with them. You just end up constantly trying to catch up, and if you're in a hurricane, you can forget it. I was talking with chat about variable speed propellers, and one of the interesting things that we don't get to simulate too much is constant speed propellers. And the early model Hurricanes in Cliffs of Dover don't have a complicated variable pitch propeller. They have a 2-speed propeller. I forget if Rotol is the upgrade or if Rotol is the multi-speed. Oh, I'm already in the A zone, so that should be fine. But either way, then you get into IL-2 flying circus, and then you really understand what a constant speed propeller can do. Heaven forbid that you're flying something like the Fokker Eindecker. This Bf-109K4 has the fancy cockpit shape. It has the Erlehaube. I only know that it's called the Erlehaube because it's referenced in IL-2 Great Battles, so... Okay, everyone's checking in. Yeah, because in IL-2, in certain versions of Bf-109, including the G6 Late, the Erlehaube canopy is occasionally available. No idea who Erlehaube is, though. Nice work on the canopy, though. It makes this thing feel a lot less like you're sitting inside a cage. Hello. I see 2 somethings down there. We're quite a long way up above them, though, so let's just keep an eye and see if one of them shoots at the other. Yes, okay. Let's go down there and see who's who. I don't have the gun pods on the wings, which means I'm stuck with, ooh, I don't know if these are 14.7 caliber machine guns, or if they're 7, no, they wouldn't be 7.7s, they might be 13.7. Plus, it looks Western, whatever's falling down there. We'll see in the kill feed. Yeah, it was an F4U. Taken by a G55S. But we do have the 30mm inline cannon lined up with the inverted V-type engine, which has impressive damage output. 30mm Minengeschloss shells are nothing to poke a stick at, but they are terribly low velocity. Okay, there's our teammate down there. We'll just see if he sees anything else. He'll be our lightning rod. We'll make sure that we don't leave the zone here because we're just on the edge of it. But you can hear what I mean. The engine just sounds like it's idling all the time. Even if I push it up into WEP, it does get a little bit spicier, but... yeah, it's not quite as punchy as I would have hoped. We've got another one down here. This might be my teammate. Though just going off the silhouette, I can't make out precisely what it is. It's got big wings, and we often have big wings in Western aircraft. Reminds me of Spitfire. Okay, something's happening here. Okay, it's American. Alright, pull up. Couple of rounds, no effect. Let's not lose all of our energy here. Oh, and the teammate gets his wing off. Nice shooting. I do like the gun sound effects, though, especially from inside of the aircraft. They have a a real punch to them, and there's actually the sound of guns firing from the inside of the aircraft, whereas a lot of the time you'll get good exterior sounds, but you'll get bad interior sounds. Which is crazy, because you spend half your time inside of the aircraft. Okay, we've captured the zone. Perfect. And we've used 13 cannon rounds. My teammates should be pretty able to spot me, because I've got the very late war K4 camouflage that has the very red striped underside that you get in late war German aircraft, back when the German anti-aircraft gunners got so convinced that there was no Luftwaffe left that they would just shoot at anything in the sky. Which probably means that that the world war is not necessarily developing in your favour, to quote the Emperor of Japan. Spotting in War Thunder Sim seems to me as if it's easier, and it makes me wonder if there's some kind of minimum size of hostile aircraft in terms of their exercise, because some sims do that. Some sims have a system in place that no matter how distant an aircraft is, it still renders as like at minimum 2-3 pixels, so you get this interesting situation where things that are really far away actually are a little bit easier to see. Okay, we've got 2 sets of ground units that feel as if they might be getting attacked by P-47 somewhere over the west. So we'll mosey on over there. For a long time I was confused about what this thing was in the cockpit, but actually it's the housing for the instrument lights. Then beneath that we have all of our fuses. Some of these you just push out and reset to turn different systems on and off. For example, the exterior lighting, if you want the exterior lights to turn on, you'd just push in the fuse, and if you wanted them to turn off, you'd just pop it out. Beneath that, we've got our oxygen blinker and oxygen system. Beneath that, we have our radio system, including volume. Landerklapper, dumping bomben. I'll let you guess what dumping bomben is. And we have all of the fantastic controls that we're used to. Magneto switches, weapon switches to the right of the magnetos, the bomb controls just behind the stick, complete with modes that set it to delayed impact or, alternatively, instantaneous detonation. And I have flown the BF-109 in DCS many times, and every time I get into that aircraft, I always forget which one of these settings I need to use, Sturs or Waagerecht. Of course, if I took the time to properly learn any German, then I would probably have an easier time of it. I brought 30 minutes of fuel thinking it would be enough, but we'll have to keep an eye out. On stream, things have been going well. I've been picking up a game that I really, really like and played for some time in 2014 called U-Boat, and it is, for me, the best version of simulating a U-boat I think there is. There are lots of different U-boat games. I know people are deeply, deeply in love with Silent Hunter and many and varied other... You see, I knew this was going to happen. I did the same thing I always do, which is I start up my little robotic vacuum, and before you think that I'm a member of the bourgeoisie, it's not a very good robotic vacuum. But it is a robotic vacuum, and sometimes I set it off, and its performance is inconsistent, but inspiring in its perseverance. Some days it'll do a full clean of the plant and it will come back with nothing. Some days it'll do the most thorough, intense, deep cleaning of carpets and floors of my entire house, but almost without fail, I will forget that I've turned it on, and then subsequently get really frightened when I hear it bump into my door. Because I always assume that I am getting attacked by a home invader. Okay, one of our units, groups of units down here has disappeared, so we're going to be going to the further one. This is turning into a bit of a hike. Useful actions. Apparently back in the day, War Thunder Sim was a great way to make silver lions, but not so much anymore. Not really doing this for the grind or the economy of it at all, but rather just to fly around some aircraft and shoot at people in a different environment. The U-boat has been great. The U-boat is a little bit too arcadey, I think some people would criticize it for if they were looking for a hardcore submarine simulator, though I do know that you have the option of dramatically increasing the levels of simulation that are going on with things like programming your torpedoes. But I've switched all of that off and I have my crew take care of most of it, and because I like submarines, I find submarines very interesting, but I don't think there's enough space in my brain to fully comprehend how a torpedo data computer works. I reckon this guy's wondering who I am. We'll let him know I'm here. And of course, adding onto it a level of crew management just makes it a little bit more fun and immersive, I think, and naming all of the crew members after members of the community has been very good fun. Okay, we've got air supremacy over Zone A. We're actually in a pretty good spot. I see one plane over there, and that was where our teammate just checked in, so we'll assume that's friendly until we receive further instructions. War Thunder Sim also makes available... Hello. Just caught a glimpse of something. But it's just a rock. War Thunder Sim also gives you access to a lot of aircraft that we haven't seen simulated or have tried to simulate before. With IL-2 Korea, some of that will change, but first and second generation aircraft are really, really well represented in War Thunder. All of those beautiful, many and varied versions of things like the Sabre and Shooting Star and, you know, belching black smoke, pre-afterburning MiG-15s and things like that. Which definitely is good fun. I've managed to get one kill in a... Ooh, there are enemies here. I've managed to get one kill in a first generation jet, and it was so gratifying that I think I got addicted to it. But variety is the spice of life, and I'm trying to find these guys, but I cannot see them. Variety is the spice of life, and sometimes it's worth flying in a different simulator for no other reason than to fly in a different simulator for a little bit. He says he has eyes on, and he's indicating over here. Okay. I see. Different gun effects, different sound effects, different flight models. No simulation's ever going to be perfect. What have we got here? We'll just check in case he's a buddy. Okay, I don't think he's friendly. No, he's not. What are you? You almost look like a mosquito. I think you are a mosquito. Either that or something else. Maybe a firebrand? A hornet! Well, there you go. We see just how effective a 30mm centerline cannon can be. You get the option of bringing the wing gun pods, the 20mm wing gun pods on the BF-109K4. But that does kind of feel like using a sports car to tow a caravan. Because this thing's so gloriously fast, so gloriously the pinnacle of the BF-109. Oh, they found another one down there. So gloriously the pinnacle of the BF-109 that to have it do anything other than go as fast as it can, I feel like would be a terrible missed opportunity. But things get fuzzy in the late war. We think of the classic BF-109 versus Spitfire debate. It's like the Spitfire can turn really well, the BF-109 has really good energy. But in the late war, things shift around a little bit. This looks like it's Russian, which means it's a yak. Which means that what he's chasing is a bad guy. Got a BF-109G coming in, and another aircraft, but I don't know what that is. Okay. Let's see if we can help them deal with this one. Okay, we're losing too much energy here. And I'm stressed about what this guy might be. He looks like a yak as well, actually. A yak... No, an LA-7. So bad at identifying Russian aircraft. Okay, that Yak 3 managed to take out that Spitfire in the end, but has subsequently been exploded by something else. What are you? You're travelling at light speed, I can tell you that much. Looks like it might be... E47, maybe? I see. My identification today is horrible. Getting my Yaks mixed up with my LA-7s, getting my BF-109s mixed up with a P-47. I must not have any idea what I'm doing. This is not an era of the war where I'm very good at visual identification. That's the bright red... I thought that Yak... Yeah, that's the bright red Yak that shot down the Spitfire. I think we are all in the company of friends right now. Got 10 minutes of fuel left. We'll call Joker... Okay, we've got airfields not that close. We'll call Joker in... let's say 3 minutes and use the rest of our fuel to make it back to base. And then we might try out a different plane. We could try the FW190D9, or we could do the TA152, which I, for a very long time, thought were the same airframes made by the same company, but I have absolutely no historical knowledge about the TA152. The only thing I know about the TA152 is that in the video game World of Warships, they represent the skip bombers and torpedo planes that you get on the aircraft carrier Max Immelmann, which I'm sure is steeped in historical evidence and relevancy. Okay, I think we might actually start moseying back to base, because to cover off anything further up here, I think would use too much fuel, and we might as well save the airframe. But the BF-109K4, it just never disappoints. It's good at what it does. Okay. Destroy the enemy attackers at E4. I'm at E4. Can I destroy the enemy attackers? Let's have a look. Someone's shooting at someone. We've got time. Not to quote Mr. Incredible too directly. You'd need a special kind of soul, I think, to fly bombers in simulated battles, especially the ones that don't have real cockpits. Maybe that was the B-17 that got shot down in the distance. Let's just do a quick... Yeah, okay, user-friendly. Well, whatever that was, he took care of it. The radio communications everyone uses for, oh, he's in a G14. Uses for a kind of poor man's IFF system, so... And it works well. Encourages this kind of simplified version of communication. Make everything... And people do it because without it, it is a lot more difficult. I don't see these attack aircraft. They're probably not here yet. Question is, where are they coming from? Unless they spawn directly in E4, I'm still quite new to this gameplay loop, so who knows, I'm probably playing it wrong, but according to my own rules, it's time to return to base. There we go. Myself a enormous pile of pasta yesterday. Should keep me going for a couple of days. Lamb plus carrot plus onion plus sweet corn plus mushrooms. Really is just a poorly thought out jamboree of vaguely similar-ish ingredients plus some mascarpone. And it comes out well. What is that? I'm not sure. We'll assume it's not here to kill us. And if it is, our teammate is nearby. You can see just a glimpse of the red paint job on the tail with the white lines on it. Basically telling German anti-aircraft gunners, please don't shoot me, please. And let's go returning to base. Alright. Make sure everyone knows what we're doing. This is not what you want to be seeing on your fuel gauge. I don't think we're at 0 yet, but we'll make it back fine. There are lots of things in my strange little role-playing flight simulation group that I play with. There are lots of things that we do in the aircraft that we were most recently flying, the Spitfire Mark V, to increase fuel economy, because that thing has a very, very small fuel tank. We lean out the mixture and all that sort of thing. I don't really know if BF-109 pilots had the luxury of doing the same thing. There's so much automation in amongst the prop governor that it is difficult to be able to explain. Another mechanism that I love and would love to learn more about is this telepitch clock face here. Anyone who's ever controlled a BF-109 with manual prop control will be very familiar with this aircraft, with this instrument. And in fact, the specific guidelines, or at least instructions that I was given for flying aircraft like the BF-109K4 in DCS, is that you would set your propeller pitch to maximum course. And the way that they indicate the pitch of the propeller is with this clock face. And the manual does refer to the times on the clock face as instructions. So it would be like, make sure that the propeller is at the 12 o'clock position. Make sure that during cruise the propeller remains at the 10:30 position, all that sort of thing. But what you're actually doing, and what the governor takes care of for you, and why overriding the prop governor can occasionally give you better performance, is the relationship between ATA, atmospheres, and the revolutions per minute. For example, I think during a peak climb, and in fact, I'm going off old information that is also from BCS, so who knows how real it is, but I think the best climb performance you get is at 1.15 ATA and 2300 revolutions per minute. But if I put the engine at 1.15 ATA, the governor only pushes the prop up to 15,000 revs when we actually want to be at 2300. So depending on the manual control of the engine can be super useful if you want to expedite your climbs. But of course, if you really want to expedite your climbs, you actually have to center the bubble, which is something I've got a terrible habit of not doing in propeller aircraft. Because in my mind, prop torque is a myth invented by big aeroplane to sell more rudder pedals. I'm glad I got my rudder pedals when I did, because I've actually got a weird... Because of the way that I hold my joystick, and because I used the twist function for so long, in order to make twisting the joystick, because it's a pretty stiff spring, a little bit easier, I got in the habit of pushing the head of the joystick around with my thumb as well as twisting with my wrist. And the specific point that my thumb was pushing on the stick to twist it was quite, not sharp, but it's, you know, it's a bit of an abrupt angle. And me putting pressure on that for really long periods of time with my thumb, I don't know if it just got stuffed up or something, but it ended up hurting. I hurt myself playing flight simulators. Please don't tell anyone I respect. The first gamer to injure myself playing War Thunder. Actually, probably not the first. And here we're going to get a beautiful airshow landing, in which we'll be lucky if our gear doesn't break. Alright. Slow down, please. Slow down, please. Slow down, please. And look, it's Ace, the Skyhook's beautiful G14 taking off. Alright. Well, that's the end of flight number 1, and I think that's worked out pretty damn good. I'll see you guys shortly for flight number 2. Welcome back to flight number 2, and we're in the TA-152. How can you tell? Because the wings are long. We got German wings the long way. This thing, as always in my mind, felt like a FW190 that got squished. Put in the hydraulic press. You know how in the hydraulic press, if you put something squishy into it, it kind of squeezes down, and then all of the bits on the sides like squirt out in a really kind of weird and gross looking fashion. I like to imagine that's what happened to the wings on this aircraft. And just the way that you would expect. I am going to be flying this high altitude interceptor at low altitude, because I never learn. I just saw in the kill feed that a BF-109 shot down a Yak, and I was like, wait a second. The Yaks are on our side, but it looks like it's an Allied captured BF-109. I wonder which specific model. Will it tell me in the scoreboard? No. What else are people flying? G14, Yak 3Ps, FW-190, D12s, LA7, B20s, BF-109K4s. Of course, me and my TA-152H1. With another engine that sounds a little bit anemic, in my opinion. I've been upgrading my cooking abilities, but not all of it has been a success. Occasionally, I cook some shit that really sucks. Like, I tried making some kind of jerk chicken breast the other day, and just didn't come out right. I ended up burning the shit out of all of it. just wasn't really good food at the end of the day. But the worst thing about cooking for yourself is that if you cook a really crap meal sometimes, and because you don't want to sit there and just eat Deliveroo every day of your life, unfortunately you'll cook something really mid, and then you'll just have to eat all of it. Blessed are we to have food at all, I think, though. Best not to look a gift horse in the mouth. But this thing sounds like it's just chuntering along at, well, let's just say not necessarily 3,150 RPM. Sounds more like it's idling. But it looks like all of the action is happening on the western side of the map, in the Sinai Peninsula. Part of the world I don't know much about. I definitely wouldn't... I don't know. One of the most stressful jobs in the world, in my mind, is being one of those guys that's a pilot for cargo ships. Those people whose entire job it is to take control of a cargo ship and, or alternatively guide a cargo ship into port, or take it along... there's an aeroplane over there. Take it along through the Suez Canal or something like that. Because I think I would have an existential crisis if I was operating a machine sheerly of that size. I don't know, it's just thousands and thousands of tons. I mean, the power rushed to my head when I was driving a forklift the first time. I thought, this thing's really heavy, and I'm not entirely sure if I should be responsible for something this massive and potentially destructive. And that was a forklift. Imagine if I was driving the Ever Given, and I'd get a rush of blood to the head, and I'd be like, yeah, no, don't worry, we can head into the dock really quick, it's fine. Don't worry, I'm getting close to the end of my shift. I've worked 16 hours at the piloting cargo ships factory, and this is my last cargo ship that I have to park before I get to go home. You betcha I'd be slamming that thing into the dock at, like... And that's the crazy thing, is that, you know, you'd be going, relatively speaking, not very fast at all, like 3 knots. But 3 knots with the inertia of something that weighs as much as Manhattan is enough destructive potential to explode just about anything. That guy got shot down at C4. Okay, he's very far north. Yeah. And then I would forget something, or I'd forget to put the parking brake on the cargo ship. And then I'd run into the port or something like that at 3 knots, but because it weighs 1 billion tons, it'll do $1 billion worth of damage. And then, of course, on top of that, I'm sure that, like, big business would step in, and insurance adjusters would be like, oh, that's okay. $120 million worth of damage, despite the fact that you're a salaried employee making 25 grand a year. We're actually insured for this, and it's no big deal. Everything's going to be fine. And I'll be like, oh, well, why don't I get paid hundreds of millions of dollars when I don't make mistakes? I shouldn't be one to talk, though. The most expensive mistake I've ever made in the workplace, I think, ended up costing about $8,000. And that was when I knocked over the brick wall at the front of someone's house back when I was a truck driver. It was one of my first days driving the truck, and for anyone who is familiar with driving a relatively large box truck, and that was what it was. It was a pretty big box truck. Sometimes they have a bit of an arse on them, so the rear wheels have a bit of a tail that overhangs. And if you're not consciously thinking about it when you turn corners, then you do seriously run the risk of having the arse swing out and hit something, and that's exactly what happened to me. I got myself into I reversed into a back road to turn around. So I was on a one-way street and I needed to turn around, so I reversed into an alley between two houses, and then I drove forwards to turn in the opposite direction that I came, but I didn't leave enough space for the arse of the truck, which swung around, then clipped itself onto the edge fence post of the brick wall in front of someone's house, and just knocked that whole cunt all the way over. It was like dominoes. I hit the one corner, and that invited the entire brick wall to come. It was only about waist high, but even still, not my finest moment. But I guess we should be grateful that at the very least it was not deadly. Okay. Our BF109K4 friend, no, G16 friend, is nearby. And he's saying things, so we might just have to keep our eyes peeled in case he's seeing anything. Look at how good the visibility is on this thing. Completely ruined by the most annoying to look out of, in my personal opinion, forward cockpit of just about any aircraft. I don't know what it is about the FW190 and the TA152, but this massive slab of glass at the front seems to exist exclusively for me to lose track of things when they go behind these pillars on the sides. Which is an issue of skill, to be sure, I wonder if that happens less to people who fly in VR. Because if they've got two separate eyes that are separated apart, maybe the angle at which this pillar is blocking vision is narrower because one of the eyes can see around it. I'm not good enough at VR to know. Though speaking of VR, and that we are... Okay, he's over here. Seeing as we're playing War Thunder, it would be remiss of me to not acknowledge the elephant in the room in that Aces of Thunder just released, and it's missing a lot of the support that I think people would have wanted it to have. Yeah, I'm coming. Track IR doesn't work out of the box. I know that they were vague on whether or not Track IR was going to work, but it doesn't just yet, but they say that they're going to be bringing it online as soon as possible. Doing the key bindings is apparently a nuisance. Oh, he managed to get the reversal. It's at 3,700 feet, so he's right down there. Nice. This Ace the Skyhook is much better at flying than me. I've got a little bit of a tummy gurgle, so here's hoping that doesn't develop into anything more interesting. The last thing I'd need today would be to get sick. I'll be honest, I don't even see where he is. I don't see much of anything at all. Maybe I'm flying too high. Maybe everyone in sim battles flies really low to camouflage themselves against the ground. But of course, most flight simulation pilots are very impatient and have no time to climb to altitude. So we will happily just pretend that the vast majority of combat during World War II happened below 5,000 feet, because it looks better when you're that close to the ground. He's behind me. Then who's this? This looks like something. The Yak 3. Once again, my innate ability to recognize Russian aircraft is demonstrated by the sheer absence of my ability to do it. For a long time, I thought it was called a yak because of the animal. But I guess it's Yakolev. Though I don't think I've ever seen a yak in real life, so I don't know if I'd know what a yak looks like. Maybe they look like aeroplanes. But then you've got the I-16, which everyone calls the donkey, and I don't think that thing looks like a donkey at all. It looks like shit. I think it looks like boiled arse, and I hate flying it. And then they've added the other one. They've added the 153 or whatever it's called to IL-2 Great Battles, which is the I-16, but it's got damn biplane wings. And it was so small that the pilots kept on removing the cockpit glass because they didn't fit. Oh no. Hopefully that's not... Oh, he got him again! Man, he's killing everyone. Man, gotta let me get some kills, dude. I didn't see... Let's see. Destroy the bombers at E6. Like an E6. Like an E6. Cover the bombers at E6. Once I know what altitude the bombers fly at, destroy the bombers at E6. Will do. Once I know the altitude that they operate at, this will get easier. Oh no. A P-61C getting shot down by a skink, of all things. Armor piercing incendiary. At 50 caliber bullet had your name on it. Unless the skink uses 20 mils, but I don't actually know. If you would like to join in on the Unterseeboot adventures, there'll be plenty more of them to come. I have too much fun playing U-Boat, I think, to give it up. I installed a mod that has period-accurate radio broadcasts, and I'm so into that sort of thing. If there is any kind of archive where you can just listen to full-length historical radio programming, I'd go feral for that. But I don't actually know if any of that record exists. There's that one... I've been meaning to interrogate this. There's that one video/audio clip that rolls around. You see it all the time, and it is allegedly a recording of British bombers during a raid. And you hear them on their radio crackly voice. They go, "Hello, Bombardier. Hello, Gunner. Hello, Skipper. We're coming up to the turn now. Oh, look at those searchlights coming up now. Oh, you got him. You got him." I don't actually know if that is authentic, because the only times I've ever seen it have been in not sourced YouTube videos. It would be so much fun to oh, there goes another one to the skink. Don't mess with the skinks, apparently. It would be so fascinating to listen to historical radio recordings of the intercommunications between aircraft during combat. Being able to listen in on what was happening in the radios and telephones of the Dowding system during the Battle of Britain would be fascinating, but of course no one's going to take the time to put any recording equipment into a flying aircraft, much less a fighter, without the pilot potentially strangling you to death for it. And perhaps it's not for us to know. Perhaps that one moment of freedom, that one moment in which they were just flying and fighting with everything they had. It's just for them, and it's not for us to know. Still, would be fascinating though. Hello. I was reading an article on the ranges of various British radio sets during the Second World War. How anyone got any information across the battlefield during that time is unfathomable to me. It's almost unintelligible. What is that?
Guide on me. Move after me.
Ridley. Yeah, almost inscrutable. Is that a bomber? I guess there's one way we can figure out if that's not friendly, and that is seeing whether or not his... Oh, fuck, okay. His defensive gunners open up. Well, turns out there's a whole stack of them. Not my finest moment. Situational awareness, not much. Looks like these are Peshkas of some description. A Russian mosquito. Very capable, very fast. In the 1941 campaign that I was doing with my roleplay group, they used Peshkas as stand-ins for Hamptons, I think. Which you'll make do. There was a little bit of discussion going on about what they should use as a stand-in in a Finnish campaign for the Buffalo. God. Okay. And for some reason people were suggesting the Macchi 202. Frustrating when you have limited access to the aircraft that you want in a game. That's why 1946 was so great. 1946, you could just add aircraft whenever you wanted. Ah, damn. Got me with a machine gun. There was one more though, wasn't there? How long would it have taken if there was a B-17 that was breaking up at altitude and they had to bail out and get out? And of course their parachute probably opens as soon as they leave the plane. They're at like 25 to 30,000 feet. Uh-oh. 25 to 30,000 feet. It must have taken ages to get to the ground. You'd have been in that parachute for so long. These two guys are acting strangely, but they look like they're Russians, which means that they're my friends. This one is acting unfriendly. Oh, he's dipped in a cloud. Let's get this last bomber before we worry about any of that. Of course, this is a very late war German airplane, so the fuel that we're running on is probably 50% cooking oil and cooking grease at this point, plus a little bit of synthetic rubber. So it's not massively surprising that our engines are pouring out enormous gobs of black smoke. But of course, when it comes to things like Lend-Lease, gasoline is not as impressive as tanks. Perfect. TU2. These guys look like they're fighting with each other. But they're not shooting at each other, is my query. Let's see if we can figure out... If these are both friendlies and they're just mucking around, then that'll be annoying. But you might be able to see them. There's one chasing another just over here. Anyone going to respond? Actually, we're further in enemy territory than we realized, so it's a non-zero chance that these guys are hostile, actually. What is that? Coming ever so slowly. Might be an attacker, maybe? What is that? Let's get the throttles back before we blow ourselves up. There's another TU-2 with both of its engines ripped. No wonder he wasn't moving. Both of his propellers were completely bent the wrong way. Okay, let's not go too high and steadily make our way back. This light damage we have on the right-hand side is only slightly affecting our flyability, but at any point that can change. Do you like that little bit of a rudder kick to get the guns over on target? I have a bad habit of doing that when I don't need to, though. Making up for lining up bad shots by kicking the rudder out just bleeds so much speed. But of course, totally acceptable in that situation, seeing as I was already overspeeding the airframe. So a little bit of right rudder never hurt anyone. Isn't that what they say to student pilots? More right rudder? How much right rudder do I need to be a pilot? Pilot, spelt P-Y-L-O-T-E. These are the difficult questions that we ask ourselves as masters of the air. I need to rewatch Masters of the Air. I think it's been a long enough time that the trauma is starting to heal of working on that production. I tell people to this day that had that TV show not been about aeroplanes, I doubt I would have survived working on it. At least my career wouldn't have. Above and beyond the most difficult, most time-consuming, most complicated film project that I ever got involved with, and they just shot so much material. You could probably make an entire another season of Masters of the Air just out of footage that wasn't used for the first one. When you're in film and television, there is such a thing as called coverage, which is filming things for as many angles as you want, making sure that you have all of the different details that you want, getting a variety of actors' performances and stuff like that. Nothing wrong with coverage. Having good coverage is part of making a television show or a movie. What there is something wrong with is not knowing when to cut camera. And just keeping the damn camera rolling for like 16 hours a day. Filming in, I don't even know, 4K I think it was. 32 terabytes of film footage filmed each day. It just takes so long to move that much data around. Anyone who works in any kind of data-driven environment will know that once you get into the big numbers of data, you'll just end up contemplating with a whole variety of problems that you didn't even know existed. And then you have to get 4 terabytes worth of something from one part of the world to another, and then you realize that the internet is much more complicated than you thought it was. And it is not just a big truck that you dump something on, it is a series of tubes. And if you do not have the right tubes, your film and television production experience is going to be horrifying. I've never had a chance of working with a Starlink system, though. And apparently they're actually pretty good. But expensive. I saw that one streamer got done in for bringing a Starlink to the Arctic. and somehow managing to briefly live stream from the Arctic before getting shut down by the authorities, because apparently you're not supposed to do that. Hey, we have found home base. Let's see if we can sit my white ass down. You know what I always thought would be a killer app idea? Imagine a War Thunder game with the same sort of mouse-aimy, simple, accessible flight controls for arcadey slash realistic battles, but imagine that it's all spaceships from Star Wars. So you've got like your Rebel line, you've got your Clone line, you've got your CIS line, you've got your Empire line, you know. They're like, oh man, they just moved the TIE fighter to 6.7, bro. Now it's not getting matched up with X-Wings anymore. What the hell is Gaijin doing? The X-Wing's too overpowered. What do you mean it has a shield generator at 5.3? You don't get the TIE Advanced until 8.8, bro. Then you get the top tier is like the TIE Avenger from Andor. And people are like, proton torpedoes are overpowered as fuck. Me, I'd be a Y-Wing main. Because anyone who knows anything about Star Wars knows that the Y-Wing's the best aircraft in Star Wars. Aircraft? Spaceship. There are real Star Wars heads, and then there are fake Star Wars heads. This is the worst landing of my entire life. Forgive me. Let's go around and try not to land at 200 knots. You can tell a lot about a person depending on what their favourite spaceship from Star Wars is. X-Wing, good guy, not terrifyingly different or exciting as a person, but all reliable, you know. You can always rely on an X-Wing fan, I think, to be a good guy. If you asked someone who likes X-Wings to look after your handbag while you went to the bathroom, they would. A-Wing pilots, you've got to be suspicious of those because they're all freaks. Y-Wing pilots, undoubtedly the coolest guys in the room. And they know it, no need to compensate. Snowspeeder pilots, definitely hipsters, can't even go to space. Oh, you know who the worst are. Oh my goodness, and this is going to piss people off when I say it. B-Wing pilots. Oh my god, get over yourselves. Yeah, well, B-Wing's so good. Oh my goodness, I'm crashing my airplane. I think that's Gaijin's way of telling me that this anecdote sucks. Alright, let's get ready for flight number 3. Alright, and welcome into flight number 3. We're in the FW190D9, which I've always thought was a bit of a long boy, but after flying the TI-152, these wings seem downright minuscule, for lack of a better word. Looks like the server's drying up just a little bit. How many people we got online? We've got enough. Enough for our final flight of the day. Let's see if I can actually land my aircraft without breaking it this time. Fortunately, the punishment is very minor in this game. I'll promise I'll fly a real pattern next time. But yes, B-Wing pilots are freaks, that's for sure. A-Wing pilots, kind of exactly what you'd expect, like fun to have around, but they'll go missing at a house party and everyone will be out looking for them, and then they'll show back up later with like a new friend that they've made or something like that. Y-Wing pilots, generally chill dudes. What else have we got? The U-Wing. The U-Wing is for hipsters, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I think they all want us to know that they watched Andor and Rogue One and it's their favourites, and I can't blame them. What else have we got? I mean, TIE Fighter pilots, there's not much to be said. If you like the ordinary TIE, I think you're just a Star Wars fan. Like, the basic, generic Star Wars fan probably middle-aged, thinks that the TIE fighter is the coolest TIE fighter. But then you have the TIE bomber, which I always thought was cool, but there are multiple iterations of it, and some of them I prefer more than others. I like the idea that the TIE bomber has such a huge arsenal of different weapons that it can spray out missiles in a big cloud or something like that, like in the in that one animation that person did of TIE fighters and the like. Look at what happens to our ATA gauge, by the way. We straight out redline it. That can't be good for the engine. TIE interceptors. The people who wear trench coats to school. Not necessarily bad guys, but, you know, they're just a bit edgy. You can't be a TIE interceptor pilot without being a little bit edgy. TIE bomber pilot's probably just in it for the love of the game. What else have we got? Trying to think. The TIE interceptor, the TIE bomber, the TIE fighter. What was the third one that they had in Star Wars? The fourth one that they had in Star Wars Squadrons that acted as a support ship? I'm gonna have to look this up. Star Wars Squadrons. And its ships. TIE Defender, of course. Which I know nothing about. Apparently it was heavily in the Thrawn trilogy. There's also the TIE Reaper, and I don't know where the TIE Reaper is from. I think it might have been an invention for Rogue One. I vaguely remember seeing them in that same scene where Blue Leader gets shot down. The TIE Defender, though, probably someone who read all the Thrawn books and really liked them and thinks Thrawn is an incredibly cool and nuanced character within the Star Wars universe. I've never been a big Thrawn fan, but that's because I don't think I've engaged with enough Thrawn media. Especially not of the Legends canon. I know that he's prolific in Star Wars Rebels and different places, and he's in Ahsoka as well, but I don't know. I don't know. Mr. Mickelson did do a good job of playing that character, though. This point is being captured by hostiles, so we do have to keep our peepers looking around out of this ignominiously huge FW-190 front window. How can such a big piece of glass show you so little of the world outside? They're still capping it too. My worst nightmare would be having them here behind me. And here I was saying how easy spotting is. Everyone seems to bias towards being very low though, so we shall see. Speaking of so low, Solo: A Star Wars Story I always thought was underrated. I thought that... Ooh, okay, they're behind me. I thought that people dumped their distaste regarding Return of the Jedi, not Return of the Jedi, The Last Jedi, onto Solo: A Star Wars Story, and as a result didn't appreciate it on its own merits. Okay. Don't shoot at me. Cover me. Okay, let's do the old nose over. If we can... No. He's in a Stang, so maybe we can outrate him. Come on, teammate. Oh, no! Oh, bugger me. We're in a flat spin. Oh, damn. Oh, well. We had some good flights, but that's flight number 3, and I get taken down by a J26. Swedish Mustang. Hopefully my teammate can finish and avenge me. Thank you so much for the company today, guys. I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and I will see you on stream tomorrow. Take good care. Bye-bye.